Rakah Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai Bahashim Rakah Kodash. Fair use, fair use.
And road just this time. You won't have to do it anymore. 4 more years, you know what? It'll be fixed, it'll be fine. You won't have to vote anymore, my beautiful Christians. I love you, Christians. I'm a Christian. I love you. Get out. You gotta get out and vote. In 4 years, you don't have to vote again.
The world is changing very quickly. Bible prophecy is unfolding right before our eyes. I'm going to play for you a clip of what Trump mentioned. All who have paid attention to Trump's election and his run, you will find out that Trump is most certainly trying to push for the biggest comeback and the most strongest comeback of a union of church and state. He has been mentioning and he has been advocating that he is going to bring back religion to America. Do you know what this means, friends? It means get ready to witness religious laws be enacted upon the soil of the United States of America. By this, my estimation is that America must surely morph and shapeshift into an entirely different beast, similar to how pagan Rome morphed and became the quote-unquote Holy Roman Empire or Papal Rome. Now let me go ahead and play for you this clip from the Charlie Kirk Memorial. Observe and listen to these words coming from the mouth of Trump himself.
We will defend it at all costs, and we will carry forward the torch of liberty that Charlie Kirk held. So proud and so high. He was so proud, and he did hold that torch high. We will never, ever let it fail. We will never let it fail. But we're going to raise it higher than ever before. It's going to be raised, and this is the beginning. Perhaps it should be no surprise that Charlie, who spent his life speaking with the critics of these traditions, ultimately became convinced that we needed not just a political realignment, but also a spiritual reawakening. We did. And we have to bring back religion to America, because without borders, law and order, and religion, you really don't have a country anymore. We want religion brought back to America. We want to bring God back into our beautiful USA like never before. We want God back.
Now friends, what we are about to discover is the astounding connection between Charlie Kirk's turning point and the agenda of a union of church and state. This is what Charlie Kirk was all about. Charlie Kirk was here to promote a union of church and state, and it stood right in front of our faces, and many people missed it. When Trump went to make his speech to Christians, he was speaking at turning point. Charlie Kirk's calling was to go and unify the church and the state, and he was called to bring the message to young people. Turning Point was always about bringing Christian values into the government. Turning Point's mission was to promote Christian nationalism and to bring that to the forefront. At the Charlie Kirk Memorial, Charlie Kirk's message was signified in that one statement that President Trump made, and that is to bring back religion and combine that with state laws. You may not know how dangerous this is. Maybe you might think it's a great idea for Christian nationalism to take hold of the nation and to govern with quote-unquote Christian laws. You see, friends, Trump giving power to the churches is nothing new. It has been done before in time past, and unfortunately, it always results in persecution. Are you aware that the Son of God was actually crucified because of a union of church and state? The assembly of Israel gathered together and united with the state to crucify Jesus Christ. Now, for those who have studied world history, you know that the Kingdom of Rome was on the verge of a collapse, and it was vastly divided, especially with the rise of Christianity and the decreasing of paganism, because pagans were converting to Christianity. And so, as a result of this, Emperor Constantine sought to unify his kingdom, so the only thing that he could do was to unify both the Christians and the pagans and bring them together under the same umbrella of religion. And this is where, by 321 AD, Emperor Constantine made a decree that was signified and signed into law. And this decree was that all Christians are commanded to abolish the Sabbath commandment of God in exchange for the quote-unquote venerable day of the sun, which is Sunday. And all who refused to obey and bow down to the law of the state by observing Sunday, they would face death penalty. Now, Constantine deified himself by declaring himself as the representative of the Christian church, while also being the political ruler of the Empire of Rome. This title would actually then be carried by the Bishop of Rome, who would become the Pope. And the Pope declares himself to be both political head and head of the church. Fast forward to today. Recently, Donald Trump was likened and compared to Constantine the Great, and everybody in the room clapped while he also smiled and received that name, that title, with gladness.
Through your leadership, you embody the values of our Christian faith and love for the gospel. You remind me of the great Roman Emperor, Constantine the Great. This emperor, your dear Mr. President, is the one who founded and built the magnificent city of Constantinople, my birthplace, known today as Istanbul. It is my great honor to present you with this holy cross.
It's not an accident that Trump was being likened and compared to Constantine, because guess what? His very actions are pointing to a modern day Constantine the Great. And yes, Trump is walking in the exact same footsteps as Constantine. Here's the thing, is that America is the lamb-like beast in Revelation chapter 13. It's the second beast that comes up from the earth. This second beast that is lamb-like, but it is a dragon, as it speaks like a dragon, that lamb-like beast operates in the exact same way as the first beast that came up from the sea. The first beast that came up from the sea is Papal Rome, or the quote-unquote Holy Roman Empire. This is the last empire that handed the torch over to the next superpower, which is the United States of America. Rome was the last great empire, but on its way out, it handed the torch to the United States of America, and America became the next world superpower. I have to repeat that so that you understand why this is significant. What we have witnessed with the Charlie Kirk Memorial was actually the launching of a counterfeit revival. A counterfeit revival which has an end goal. The end goal is to unify Christians and to combine them with the power of the state, thus give power to the church. In other words, you've got the state giving power to the church, even the same way as it was with Constantine giving power to the church by uniting with the church. And ultimately it results in persecution. Now here's the thing, in the West, Christianity is established as the foundation of America. And so Christianity in the West wants to establish itself as the dominant religion. Therefore, Christian nationalism is going to try to establish itself as the dominant religion. Now think about this. The pendulum has swung to the far left during the recent administrations of the Democrats. Now the pendulum is swinging to the far right, and when it goes to the far right, Christian nationalism is the one that is now taking the pendulum and pushing it to go to the far right, and they're going to see how far they can go. And through President Trump and through the Christian movement, right now what we are seeing, friends, is a rising power of Protestant America uniting with the state, thus seeking to establish itself as the dominant religion of the West, which ultimately is going to lead very similar to how things transpired with Constantine, establishing a day of rest. You need to understand this here. This union of church and state is being led and driven by the power of spiritualism. In fact, this is what drives the ecumenical movement. Ecumenicism is primarily spiritualism. This is a false revival. It is a counterfeit revival. This is an abomination, to be frank. I believe that a false revival is the equivalent of a false fire, because that's a false spirit that people are being driven by. And that's what I believe is happening. The ecumenical movement is driven by a false spirit, which is false fire, which means deceptive spirits are behind it. Ladies and